Hello and welcome to Overexposed, episode 2, the podcast where we talk about all things real estate photography business owning. Eventually, I'll have a shorter way of saying that. Today, we are talking to Neil Cash. Neil is one of our members. Neil, where are you talking to us from?
Macedon Ranges. Hi, how are you?
Hello.
So that's Macedon Ranges in Victoria, right, Neil? Near Cointon?
Yes. Halfway between Melbourne and Bendigo. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Beautiful part of the world. Wineries, mountains, you name it, we've got it.
And how long have you lived there?
I've been here just coming up to 10 years. Moved up from Melbourne. Yep.
And that doesn't, I'm not an expert on Australia, Neil, but that doesn't sound like a Macedon Ranges accent. Where are you from originally and how did you end up in Macedon Ranges?
So originally from Manchester in the UK and moved across to Australia 2009 after meeting my now lovely wife in Manchester. And then we lived in Melbourne for about 4 years. And then in the search for a little country weekend place, we stumbled across our house in Kyneton. We bought it, restored it, and within 6 months, we'd moved up here. And it was a done deal. So then it was just all about how do we move life up to the ranges and away from the city.
And what were you working as? What's kind of your professional history, Neil?
So I came out here as a creative director. I'd been in the studio portrait industry for now 20 years. So that's what I was doing in the UK. I had my own studio there for a while. And then I was creative director for a pretty large company in the UK where we had 96 studios, I think, at the peak. And that was where I then met a photographer from Melbourne who sort of got back in touch and decided that she'd like me out here to help them out. And all the wheels were set in motion. And that was the start of the emigration to Australia. Never imagined I would be here at all.
Wow. So you were doing portraits in Melbourne as well?
Kind of. I was the creative director again there. But it was all in portrait, studio portrait work. Yeah. So recruiting, training, and just looking after all the photographers across the 7 studios. Yeah.
So probably not a lot of creative work happening there. It just becomes a people management thing.
There's a lot of people management. And you are, there is, you're not probably feeling creative yourself as such, but it's nice to watch other people grow and flourish and go on to do pretty amazing things themselves. But then I think there just came a point where I thought I kind of just want to be doing that myself again and get back on the tools, as it were.
And so did you seek out real estate photography or did it find you?
I think it probably found me. It was just a chance conversation with a friend who also used to work for the same company. She'd gone off to do it, and a chance Zoom chat as a catch-up was, you'd be great at this, you should give it a go, and it really suits you. And it just sort of spiraled from there, I guess.
So was the attraction getting back into photography, or was it running your own business, or was it not managing other people, or was it a bit of all of those things?
It was definitely not managing other people. That's been a fairly big driver. Much as I love all the people I have managed, it's a stressful thing when you're in control of other people's livelihoods and careers and all the decision making that goes with that. It can get a little bit anxiety inducing. And I guess, I never realized I wanted to get back behind the camera. I think when you're not behind it for so long, you do get used to that and you sort of get used to the office. And then I got back behind it and realized how much I'd missed it. I just maybe wasn't missing doing it in the studio. It was, and running my own business was not really a driver for that, to be honest. It was the way it was going to have to be. Having run my own business in the past, again, it involved employing people and managing people. So I guess this running my own business, but more as a sole trader, has suited me down to the ground.
And so you said that your background was sort of portraiture and things like that. Presumably it was just photography, was it, rather than video as well?
Yeah. Never touched video until I started doing this. Yeah. Still not sure I do.
I've seen your videos. They're good. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, I'd say you're good.
Yeah.
So you moved up to the Macedon Ranges, you joined BWRM, and I guess you are probably one of our business owners that's become the most successful the most quickly. You've really kind of set your sights on a goal. You didn't want to be managing people, but you had a goal of making a certain amount a month, and you've managed to achieve that really rapidly. Tell me a little bit about that, about what you think has led to that quick success.
Oh, look, I still think there's a part of this is just right place, right time, good fortune. I'm not going to move away from that too much, but I think I needed to do the sales course that BWRM runs. I didn't realize I needed to do it, having spent 20 years running sales courses, but for a different side of photography. I guess in my head, I thought I probably don't need to do that. But if it did nothing else for me, I'm the kind of guy that just doesn't want to show up at a meeting having not done my homework. It's just who I am. And so it just forced me to just go through the motions of what is required and what has been laid out to start a successful business. And I think once that first foot was in the door, it was then all about people. It was just all about managing people, getting in touch with people, communicating with people. If you're somebody that people want to be around and they want you to be around their clients, you're probably going to build a business pretty quickly. Because in my experience, as well as the photography, I think the photography is incredibly important, that you have to set yourself aside in that creative side. I just think the number one driver for signing on a new agency is that they can trust you with their clients. It's just the number one thing that they are looking out for. They never say it, but that's what they judge you every time they see you, until they just stop bothering turning up because they know they can leave you with them.
Just going back to the sales course, you said you had experience of sales before. I mean, what would you say was the main thing you got out of that? Was it the understanding that you needed to do the things you didn't like, or was there any structure to it that you didn't realise before, or was it just a refresher? What would you say?
Yeah, I think definitely not a refresher, because I've probably never had to do the sort of front end selling. What do I mean by that? Front end selling, the upfront kind of pitch sales is not something I've ever needed to do, because I've always either employed somebody to do that when I had my own studio, or all of the sales stuff I was running was for kind of the products being made and now how do we sell it to the client. So going out to get clients was a relatively new thing. So it was a big reason why I figured I should do the sales course, because that's just an area that I've never had to really embrace too much. And yeah, the structure, like I said, the homework, the rigid kind of, why would you not do this? You've signed up to a course. It seems pretty stupid that you wouldn't actually do your homework. And then, of course, you do your homework and tried and tested it. It starts to work. And that's when, things just roll they just rolled pretty quickly for me from that point on.
Did you have, was there much competition? Because I know sometimes in more regional areas, you're starting a new business, they've already got a photographer who's maybe married to their cousin that they've known for all these years, and it can be really tricky to break into that. Did you experience much of that?
Yeah, look, I mean, they're all listing and selling houses before I arrived, so yes, the competition was clearly there. They weren't doing blank listings. But I think there was a point of difference that they saw pretty quickly. And I think having done that with the first agency, I think the next agency kind of then sort of realized that something had changed in the town. It's a small town. And when you see that your biggest competitor, like the quality of their marketing or the photography has dramatically changed, I think people either jump on that or they dig in further with their own photographer. And I was just lucky that, I think a few jumped on it, decided that they wanted to have a conversation at least. And at that point, I'm pretty comfortable once I've got my foot in the door that I think they would want to work with me.
What would you say from your customer's point of view, that after that first couple of jobs, what would you say that their opinion of the big improvement was? Was it the quality of the product, or was it the service, or what? Was it the?
What's the point of difference?
Yeah.
Oh, look, it has to be the photography, just because it is something I'm just really passionate about. I don't see the point in turning up to a house that somebody spent 4 weeks clearing out and tidying and styling, and then kind of just going in each corner of the room and doing a wide angle shot. It doesn't, I don't know. And I'm also not about rush jobs, which I am fortunate in the sense that because it's a rural setting, properties are often bigger, maybe acreages, and therefore the package is bigger, and so I can spend more time because I don't have to do as many jobs each day. But I always set aside more time than is required for the job, because I honestly just don't believe you can understand the character of a house in an hour and a half, personally. By the time you've done the floor plan, you leave yourself 45 minutes to try and work out all of this stuff that, people have spent 10 years living in that house. And I just don't know if that's possible in 45 minutes. So I always allow myself a little bit more time just to find those little nooks and crannies of a garden or of the house itself, just a different angle.
Do you say that to your clients? Because that's what you just said is a really, really lovely thing that I think people don't realize is that kind of passion and care and respect.
I say it to both clients and vendors. And I think that's why the clients like to leave me alone with the vendors.
Yeah.
Because one of the first things I probably do when I get into a house is chat to the vendors and ask them where their favorite part of the house is, because it just seems incredibly egotistic that I would just walk in and know that stuff. And whilst it's great to have a fresh pair of eyes on a house, it's also great to tie that in with somebody else's, well-rested eyes on a house and find somewhere as a collaboration that you get like these beautiful moments that I probably wouldn't have found on my own, but equally a vision of the house that they maybe haven't seen for a long time.
I really like that. Yeah.
And what would you say, just for people who haven't been around that area? I know it's a kind of, I know Kyneton especially is sort of a quite a historic town, but what is the typical house? What are you turning up to generally?
Wow, I wish there was a typical. I guess in the towns, it would be more of you sort of Victorian weatherboard style large cottages or houses. There's a few architectural builds, maybe some in the town, further out of town on properties. We also have a lot of, like the old 50s brick type ranch style, maybe. Is that what you call it? I'm not even sure. So it's a bit of a gamut. I guess I don't get the big kind of white beach house type houses. I would spend more time trying to get myself into the corner of a room because there's not enough room than I would trying to make a big room look smaller.
If it's a rural place, it's a big farm or a sort of semi-rural, acre or acre and a half or something, or?
Oh no, they would be much bigger. It sort of grows outwards from the town. So the town might be sort of quarter acre or up to an acre blocks. And then the next kind of ring around the town will be more like 5 acre blocks. And then after that, it can be up to 100, 200 acre properties that, you just got to walk around. And like I say, set yourself some time because there's no quick way to walk around 200 acres. You just have to get your boots on, put your gaiters on and go for it.
So if you're turning up to this, these huge properties, obviously they need a lot more time because you can't run around a 60 acre farm in an hour, as you've said. Your area is probably different than many that we've got. How do you cope with those differences? What are the things that you do differently? Give us an idea of how you deal with that.
Oh, look, in terms of the packaging, the packaging and pricing allows me to do those big jobs. I think agents and agencies are not blind to the fact that is a big property and it takes time, and therefore they're happy to pay, the bigger price for the package. And I think what that allows as well is for me to just enjoy myself there. It's pretty rare that I actually go to a property where I don't enjoy it. There's obviously the odd ones where there's just no effort's been made or whatever. There's no history to it. But generally, there's just stories galore in those places. And I'm not there trying to tell the stories, but it's just like an added bonus to your job when you're photographing whatever kind of house it is. But, the people have lived in there for 45 years and they're trying to downsize and move into the town. And they just, they know everybody. They don't talk about neighbors in terms of roads or street names or land blocks. They talk about these family generations, like the Smiths or the Trainers or they know who owns all of this land around them. I don't know. It's really nice. It's nice to chat with those kind of people. And it just makes the job more pleasant. Like quite often the vendors will come for a walk with me whilst I'm shooting around the property. And there's just no nicer way to get through shooting a house than having them there with you, just talking about it all. Love it.
I think it also shows the difference between rural and stuff in town though. I do a bit of rural as well, and I have a similar experience. You get the history. This is not just the windmill, it's the windmill that Bob put up or whatever, and you get all that kind of stuff. So I get that. And so challenges for you on those bigger properties, obviously having enough time to do it and to do a good job. But also, I think you've mentioned before that, you'll do extra things that need to be done on those particular houses if the day isn't right or that kind of thing.
Yeah, look, for sure. It's, most of what I'm doing is within a sort of 30 kilometer radius of where I live. And so if you're trying to photograph and market, a $2 million acreage property, it needs to be in the sunshine. People are not going to live the dream looking at this property from Melbourne with dark black clouds and rain and, whatever else coming through. There's definitely been times, especially last year, actually, on the run up to Christmas, where all the bookings that were in, there was a sort of I would go around and do all of the floor plan stuff and maybe all of the internals. And then I would revisit and go back and do all of those same addresses on a sunny day. And we'd do all the externals in the drone. And I think, that sort of flexibility, I feel like the agents haven't had before, which I think is something that definitely goes with that smaller business, sole trader kind of approach where, they've openly told me they've just never had that amount of flexibility from anybody before.
It just sounds like you've built a business where your priority is doing the absolute best possible job you can. And that's been the focus, is how can I do the best work and pay respect to this beautiful home that's got all these stories. And then you've made sure that your model beneath it is a sustainable one, that you've got your pricing that allows for that, so that it's not a question. You're not kind of giving up one thing for the other.
Yep. Yeah. And, there's the pricing allows for that. But also, I'm just a massive believer that when you treat your clients and you've got that level of customer service at a certain point, I don't want to be blasé about it, but you don't actually have to worry about new business. You don't have to put time aside for new business, like going in to see people. It comes through the door. That comes on the telephone. You just get new business because people just hear about good photography and good customer service. So I think in that sense, it's, whatever time I might spend a little bit extra delivering that customer service, I get that time back by not having to go and find new business. So
yeah,
it's a good payoff. And it's a gamble.
Yeah.
You can't guarantee you're going to get word of mouth. It is a gamble, but it's a gamble that's paid off so far. But I think with that as well, whilst it is a gamble and it has paid off, there is also that sense that it's locked in. I also don't have to worry about competitors coming through.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about that. You've just been away on holiday, haven't you? How long did you go away for?
I was away for 3 weeks over Christmas and New Year.
Yeah, so you're away for 3 weeks. You're a sole trader. You don't have contractors and things.
Yep.
So it could be seen as a big gamble going away, and you've built up all this business. But how did it actually go in reality?
I think in reality, I gave them 3 months' notice. So as soon as the flights were booked, I gave them the notice and said, this will be the last day of shoots. This will be the last day of retouch edit notes to fix anything up. I will be on computer over Christmas. However, I can't shoot. I can't revisit. There'll be nothing. So all the agents were really good. Like they got all their shoots booked in. They got their clients. They had enough time to get vendors prepared for the fact that the last shoot day is here and there's just non-negotiable. If you don't hit that, the next will be like the 10th of January. And yeah, I had a very busy December and I had a very busy January. But I think from what I gather, I think one shoot went to a competitor from 4 or 5 agencies.
And I think you told me off mic that the agency were really, really apologetic about it and have come right back. So
they were just like, we had to. I'm really sorry.
But that's wonderful, because that really shows that for them it's a personal thing. It's a relationship thing that you've really worked hard to secure that relationship. So I'm really interested in how you did that, because we've heard about how you get the referrals, how you got the work, how you impress them. Are you doing anything else that you haven't already said that's really maintaining those relationships?
Oh, probably not that I would be able to pick. I'm sure if people were watching, they would see heaps of stuff, but it's what I've been doing for 20 years. It is essentially customer service photography. And so I think there's just stuff that gets embedded into you and your character that you just wouldn't believe that you wouldn't do that for somebody. Whereas to a new person, that might seem like you've gone the extra mile. I'm like, that's just the mile. There's no extra miles there. I guess the minute your focus is on what you can do for your agent, what you can do for that vendor, and how you can make that agent look great for that vendor, and you're not thinking about what's in it for you, then you'll get everything that you need for you and more besides. Like you don't have to think about you have to think about them. And I think they see that I do that. They see that I think about them. They see that I'll call them 3 days before a shoot, knowing that bad weather's coming, and we'll organise to do the shoot early, or we'll organise to do it earlier in the morning or at a different day. And I think just having that preemptive, like you can do that when you're a small business. You can preempt across your days with different agencies and just make them realise that you've got their back.
Yeah.
It's just about prioritising, well, which one needs the sunshine and which one can be done in the rain. And just letting them know that you're thinking about it, I think, is important.
Yeah, it's the care factor is just massive.
Yeah.
What I'm hearing from you.
And just, I don't know, just being real with them. Like, turn up on time, turn up early, turn up and ask them about their weekend, turn up and ask them, remember things about them, but don't make it fake. Like, you don't, I don't know, you can always spot the fake, can't you? You can always spot the fake conversation or the fake kind of hi, but if you're just real with them, and I actually judge it based upon how you get addressed in text and emails. So I don't know if you ever do this with your own clients, but it starts with the sort of first name, the full name, and then over time it will sort of get down to maybe like their nickname within the office, or their shortened version of their name is how they'll sign off on an email. And then when the emails come through with "Hi, mate," and you're like, okay, that's where we're at. Good.
I think that's a really good point. I think when you first get, I've noticed that when you first get agents, there's a tendency for them to think of you as a kind of outsider who, they have to call, or they know that they have to. I'm talking about newer or less experienced agents. I have to get the photographer, and this man has turned up. And after a while, if you're doing a good job, they realise that you're actually on their side. You're there to help them. It's not an expense; it's a requirement to get good photography. And if you've got someone who's experienced and is doing the things that you're doing, it's only a plus from their point of view.
Yeah, absolutely. And the quickest way for clients to understand who you are and what you're about is through the vendor. If you want an agent to continue working with you, get 3 or 4 of the vendors that you shoot for to naturally tell the agent what a great time they had working with you. And at that point, they're not going to use anyone else, I don't think.
Yeah, you're making them look good, aren't you? The whole experience is positive. To change the subject a little bit, Neil, you're an artist as well as a creative, a business owner, an experienced people manager. You're also a painter. And so obviously
loosely, but yeah.
Oh, your stuff looks good. I had a bit of a squiz online actually. It's got some really cool stuff. So there's obviously a really deep creative drive within you as well. And often we see that it's really hard to find someone who's that creative, that they're like artist level creative, but then also a business owner. And I actually saw you said a really good quote on your website, which I'll just read, which I loved. And it said, "Having grappled for many years with how to separate my commercial and artistic personas, I've happily realized that they can actually perfectly coexist." demanding a creative approach to real estate shoots is equally as important as adopting a business approach to being an artist. Can you talk to me a little bit about that? Because it's fascinating.
Yeah, for sure. I always feel it's just a little bit of my soul disappears when I see creative, like real estate photography, where it's just, they've obviously flown in, flown out, 40 minutes, corner to corner. And it's there because you're getting brought in to reshoot the whole job. So you know what happened. And I just find that it's like, why bother? Like, I don't get it. Why bother? Just do something else. If you can't walk into a house and find a creative way of shooting it, like you should be able to walk up to a Coca-Cola can and find a creative way of shooting it. It's just do something else. I guess I don't understand why you wouldn't bring creativity to this industry. And I think more and more when, and probably slightly lucky being regional because, I'm in an area where there is an amount of lifestyle kind of desirability for people moving here. So I get it. It's not, 1-bedroom unit in the city. You can't just assume that they know that lifestyle. You have to create that lifestyle, whether it's, sort of sneaky peeks through plants. Like I always just try and get as much greenery into every shot possible. Just giving people that option to sit wherever they're sitting, dreaming about moving to the country. And I guess on the flip side of that, I've then, fair few friends that are artists who just struggle to ask for money. It's like they struggle to see the worth in what they're doing, or that, maybe they should give a discount and it's like, stop it. Stop it. They've got as much money to pay you as they've got to pay all of the other parts of the business, it takes a while though. And I've been, again, just fortunate to have spent so many years in an industry where we used to take the money up front. So we wouldn't produce anything until the money was paid. And so you just get quite accustomed to asking for what you're worth. And it's not like we're asking for more than we're worth. Just don't ask for less than you're worth. That's just a bit crazy.
Well, and see the value in what you do, I think, is the key point there, really.
See the value in what you do and also deliver it. Like, don't talk the talk and then deliver, loose photography. Just deliver it. And then they don't even think about the money. They don't. I actually do have an agency that doesn't give me packages ever. They don't tell me what they want. They assume that I will get to the place and make the correct decision, and they will pay whatever I believe the correct decision for that property was.
Yeah.
I know, right? That's pretty crazy.
That's a pretty high level of trust but that's
exactly what it is. It's trust and it's integrity.
It's integrity, because they know you're not going to just do a drone if it doesn't need a drone, although I imagine all of your jobs need drones where you are.
Absolutely.
But yeah, you're not going to do things for no reason.
Yeah.
Because you're doing what you would want. You've been in that position where you're the city slicker in Melbourne dreaming of moving to the country. So you know what that person wants to see, and you've fallen in love with the country. So yeah, I think it shows.
Yeah, for sure. There's listings that you look at, and I've still got that dream of a coastal change as well at some point, and I look at those same things. And if I'm looking at a house coastal and it's just got that soulless approach to the photography, it just doesn't make me dream of moving to the coast. But when you see those real lifestyle package coastal listings, it's like, oh my God, I can see why that costs $2 million. And people get it. But if you don't deliver that, I just think the agents are up against it when they're bringing people through. They're just getting them there. That's essentially our job, is to just get them there. But the agents will take over after that. I'm not going to take responsibility for selling the house. But I think we have to take some responsibility for people turning up to a viewing.
Yeah, sure.
I just don't get it. I don't get why people would do this if they're not passionate about it. Like, why? I don't get it. Is it just me? Like this, we're turning up to something that has been professionally styled at probably the expense of $3,000 or $4,000, and then there's these photographers that just take these most soulless pictures, and you just think, why?
I think you're probably the perfect person in the perfect place. I think you might find it a bit more difficult if you were in, a sort of suburbia or whatever. Your background is perfect for this. I think your attitude's perfect for this. I think you're in a great area to make use of your skills and the way you approach things. And I think it shows. I mean, to have someone like you were talking about, that agency that just lets you do whatever needs to be done, to get to that stage within a year or less, 8 months or something. I mean, that's phenomenal. That's where everyone wants to be, and you've got there within 8 months. So, I'll take my hat off to you.
But it's not from anything groundbreaking. You're not, you're not flying a chopper over these places. It really just comes down to a level of care and empathy and just holding yourself to an extremely high standard of doing the absolute best job you can. You don't do half-ass. It really just seems like the number one priority is to do the best work possible. And I think if you've done a lot of jobs, it's easy to get jaded. I know I've gotten jaded at times, usually towards the end of spring. I'm pretty shattered. But to kind of listen to you talk, it's really I don't know, I feel invigorated. I would go out and shoot. It's reminded me that how lucky we are, because it is a really fun job. And yeah, it's a lot better than managing a team of 70 people in a studio or computer programming, I imagine, or whatever. It's fun.
Absolutely. And just the amount of characters you get to meet, the range of people that you get to meet is just incredible. From the saddest stories of why somebody might be selling their house to, some of the most interesting emigrations to just every reason for selling a house is different. And it's just, if you don't ask the questions, you'll never hear the stories. And those stories take all the time. I know that, which is why I set more time to do the job, because I love those stories. And it's part of why I want to do this the way I want to do it.
Mm.
I don't want to do 6 jobs in a day and not speak to anyone. I'd rather do 3 jobs in a day and hear all these amazing stories, but then just charge more for them. So it seems to work.
So maybe to finish off, do you have what's been your most memorable shoot? Do you have anything that really sticks out of just wild, wonderful stories?
Oh my God.
No pressure now. Now you've built it up.
I know, I didn't prep you for this.
Wow. Yeah, there was one recently that they moved across from Cornwall, I think about 45, 50 years ago. Been farming the region, but they've been in this particular property for, 20 years, brought the cows with them because they wanted to breed this particular type of cow. And they've been in the same place. So they're now in their late 70s, early 80s, and they're looking to sell the farm and move into town. And I don't know, just the most beautiful, you just turn up and she's, do you want a cup of tea? You look like you're hot there. Can I get you a cool drink? And they're just the loveliest people. Do you want to borrow my gum boots? You're going to have to go over the creek. And I don't know. That doesn't do justice to the kind of people I meet, but it's always the oldies that get me. I just end up talking to them forever. I get invited around for cake, cup of tea. If you're ever in the area, make sure you come in for a cup of tea. And I guess sort of coming back to what we were talking about earlier with where I live, why I live here, why I do the job and all of that, it's those relationships are what I want. That allows me to understand the town and the area that I live in a lot more. And it stops me feeling, I think when I commuted to Melbourne, I felt like I lived here and I spent my money here and I was doing all of the right things to commit to being regional, but I still felt like a blow-in. And now that I live and work in the area and I'm getting to know all these people from different parts of the town, I feel like I'm less of a blow-in. I feel like I'm...
making it home.
Yeah, just starting to become a little bit more of the furniture that maybe someday down the track someone will say, oh, yeah, that was shot by that guy with the glasses. You remember him? I guess that's, that's part of the reason of moving to a small community and being happy with that rather than bright lights, big city.
You just got to lose the accent now.
Nah, that's never going.
Keep it.
Yeah,
Keep it.
No. I'll still do a nah, awesome. But it'll be in English.
Yeah. That was awesome, Neil. Thank you very much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure.
My pleasure.
And looking forward to seeing everything that comes.
All good. Great.